Hello everyone, Alicia here with another lightened up Weight Watcher friendly recipe, and today I am super excited to be doing a viewer request recipe and also my last recipe that I think would be great for Thanksgiving, and that is going to be a pumpkin roll. I had a viewer request that I do a lightened up version of a pumpkin roll, and I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love pumpkin rolls. I have made several, and I do have my favorite recipe though for them, and that is the Libby's pumpkin recipe. It is just my favorite. It's so easy to make, but just tastes so delicious. So I will be sure to have a link to that recipe that I'm gonna be altering today and making more light. Because if you ever wanna make just a regular version, this is hands down my favorite. And again, it's just so easy. So I love it. And that is why I'm gonna be taking it and altering it today to make it a little more Weight Watcher friendly, lower calorie, all of that good stuff, so that you don't have to feel guilty about eating it for Thanksgiving or whenever you want to have it. So let me jump in and I'm going to go over the ingredients real quick. First off, you're going to need some all-purpose flour, 3/4 cup of that. And then next up, you're going to need some 100% pure pumpkin. I'm going to be using 2/3 cup of this, and I'm just using the Libby's brand because, hey, why not? I am using their recipe that I'm going to be altering today, so I figured I might as well use theirs. But you could use whatever type of pumpkin puree you want. Just make sure it is the 100% pure pumpkin and not the pumpkin pie filling. Next up, you're gonna need 3 large eggs, a ½ teaspoon ground cloves, a teaspoon ground cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon salt, ½ teaspoon baking powder, and a ½ teaspoon baking soda. I am gonna be using this Baker's Joy so that my pumpkin roll does not stick. I love this stuff. It works really well, by the way. But you could also just use a little extra flour if you want. And then for sweetener in the roll, I'm gonna be using some of this Lightened monk fruit sweetener, just the classic. I'm gonna be using 3/4 cup of this, but you can use whatever type of no calorie sweetener you want or you prefer. And then that is gonna be everything for the pumpkin roll itself. For the filling, I'm gonna be using 8 ounces of light cream cheese. I'm just using this Lucerne brand. You can use whatever brand you want. This one is a little lower. It's actually 50% less fat and 40% fewer calories. And I pointed out before, this is actually lighter and lower in points than the bricks, the third less fat bricks. And that's the same for if you get the name brand like the Philadelphia as well. These light cream cheeses are a little bit lower in points than the bricks, the ones that come in the tub. So I'm using this, 8 ounces. And then I'm gonna be using 2/3 cup of the Lightened powdered sugar. I always say I'm not the biggest fan of this. As much as I love the classic Lightened in the brown or the golden, I really don't care too much for this powdered Lightened. I don't care for any of the powdered sugars that I found. And I've tried, I should say sugar-free, and I've tried a ton of them. I just don't like any of them. Now, when you're using this with cream cheese though, it actually works okay. So I will be using this in the cream cheese filling. And then I'm gonna be using a couple tablespoons of this Fage fat-free Greek yogurt, and then a teaspoon vanilla extract. Okay, and then I've got some regular powdered sugar here, and I am gonna be using 1/4 cup of that to sprinkle on my towel that I'm going to be putting my cake on. And then I might use just a little bit more to sprinkle on top just for decorative purposes. Now, the reason I'm using this instead of the Lightened is, again, I'm not the biggest fan of this. And as I said, when you mix it with something like cream cheese, it's fine. But I don't want to just use it to sprinkle on where all you're tasting is this, because again, I don't like the taste of that. If you don't mind the flavor or taste of the sugar-free powdered sugars, you could absolutely use this to put your cake on and to sprinkle on top, and you're gonna save yourself 9 points for the 1/4 cup that I'm gonna be using. I feel like the 9 points is definitely worth it, but again, that's completely up to you. But that's why I'm using the regular powdered instead of just all of the Lightened. But anyway, that is everything that you're gonna need to make this, so let me get it started. First off, I'm gonna get my pan ready to go. And so this is a 15 by 11 pan, and I think they actually call it a jelly pan. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spray a little bit of my baker's joy on it. And then I'm going to take a piece of parchment and lay that in there. And then give that a good spray. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and just set this aside until I'm ready for it. And then in a medium-sized bowl, I'm going to add in my 3/4 cup flour, half teaspoon baking powder, half teaspoon baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon salt, half teaspoon ground cloves, and teaspoon cinnamon. And I'm going to just mix all of those together until they're well combined. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. So now in my mixer, I'm going to add in my 3 eggs and my 3/4 cup Lightened. And I'm going to mix the 2 of those together. I mixed the 2 of those together real well, so now I'm going to add in my pumpkin, my 2/3 cup. And I like to say that with that pumpkin, I'm only using 2/3 cup out of that 29-ounce can. I am going to be using some more for some other things, but you can absolutely freeze your remaining pumpkin. It freezes really well. Okay, so now I'm going to mix those together. Those are all incorporated together well, so now I'm going to take my flour mixture, pour that in, and mix that in. Got that all mixed together well, so now I'm going to grab my pan and we're going to pour this on. Got my pan, so now I'm going to just take my batter and I'm going to just pour it on. And I'm going to kind of just smooth it in here, and it always looks like it's not going to be enough batter, but it ends up being enough, so just wanted to kind of point that out too. So I'm going to smooth this in here the best that I can. Got this pretty well smoothed in here, and again, it is very thin, so I just want to point that out so you know that's normal. But I've got my oven preheated to 375, so I'm going to bake this starting off around 13 minutes. I think the recipe says between 13 and 15, but I will have the specific times down below. What you're looking for is for this to kind of spring back when you press on it. So once we're at that point, I will be back. While my cake is cooking, I'm gonna get my towel ready to place it on when it's done. So what I've got here is just a thin cotton towel, flour sack towel, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to take my 1/4 cup powdered sugar here. And I'm going to just put it in this to make it a little easier. Sprinkle and kind of get it where I want it. Sprinkle this roughly in the shape of my cake, or where I'm going to be plopping my cake down, I should say. So I'm going to just sprinkle this all on here, and you want to make sure you do this step, because if you don't, your cake is not going to come off with the towel very well. Okay, I've got that ready. So when my cake comes out, I can lay it down in this. It is definitely done. It's springing back when you press on it. So now I'm going to take it over to my counter and we're going to flip it out. So I've got my cake here, and I'm going to just kind of flip it out, and I'm going to try to line it up with my powdered sugar here. And this, well, that wasn't too bad that time. I was gonna say, it's almost always messy. I usually blow powdered sugar all over the place, but that wasn't too bad. And I've tried to find different ways to do this so that that doesn't happen, but this is still the best way to do it. It's just flop it out on there. So now I'm gonna remove my paper, which should come off nicely, and that did. And then I'm gonna just take this, starting at the narrow end, I'm going to kind of just start folding it or rolling it on itself. That. And just continue to roll it till you get to the end. I want to find the seam, which is right here. And then we're going to take this and then seam down, place it on a wire rack. So I got to grab my wire rack. It's my cooling rack, my wire cooling rack. Again, I'm going to just take this and seam down, lay it on here. And I'm gonna just let that completely cool, just like that. So it'll take a little over an hour usually. So I'll be back once this is nice and cooled, and then we'll do the filling for it. So now for the filling for this, I'm going to, in my mixer, add in my 8 ounces of cream cheese. And you want this room temp. My 2/3 cup Lightened powdered, teaspoon vanilla, and my 2 tablespoons fat-free Greek yogurt. And now I'm gonna just whisk all of this together until it is nice and creamy and well combined. Got that all mixed together. Here's kind of what the texture looks like. So now this is ready to put on my cake. I've let this completely cool. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unroll it. And now that I've got this unrolled, I'm gonna take my filling and I'm gonna spread it evenly on here. Now you don't want to take this all the way to the edges because once you roll this, it'll end up squeezing out. So I'm gonna spread this on, leaving just a little bit of the edge without it. Okay, now that I've got that all spread on there, I'm gonna flip this around here, and starting on this end that's already kind of curled over, I'm gonna just, as tightly as I can, roll this back up. And it's coming off nicely from the towel, so that's good. Pull that end off the towel, and there we go. Rolled up pretty nicely. So now I'm gonna grab myself some plastic wrap, and I'm gonna wrap this in that. So I've got a piece of plastic wrap here, and I'm gonna just lay this seam side down and just wrap it in the plastic wrap. Then I'm gonna take another piece to get those ends covered. Now I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna set it in my fridge, and I'm gonna let it refrigerate for a good hour. You can do longer if you want, but you want to do at least an hour. And then after that, I will come back and we'll cut into this. All right, I let this sit for a good hour, so now I'm gonna unwrap it. And now that I've got that unwrapped, I'm gonna take about a tablespoon of confectioner's sugar. And again, you can use a sugar-free confectioner's sugar if you want. And I'm gonna just sprinkle this on the top. And I do have a tablespoon factored in for this. Into the points, I should say. Okay, I've got that all dusted, so now I'm gonna go ahead and slice into this. And the ends on these pumpkin rolls, I don't know if you can tell, they're never gonna be the pretty piece. So that's just a kind of FYI, they're never gonna be very pretty. All right, and there is a little look inside. Hopefully you can see that. My lighting's kind of messing with it a little bit, but very, very pretty. I love these. And here is a serving of that. I've got it factored in at 12 servings, so 12 slices. And that is gonna be just 3 points, which I don't think is bad at all. Now I went ahead and took a little bite of this before I plated this up, and it is really good. Now I can taste a little bit of the cooling effect from that erythritol in the Lightened, and I'm pretty sensitive to that, but it's not bad at all. Otherwise, the taste is very similar, I think. That cream cheese filling, it's obviously not going to be as rich as it is in the original, but it tastes pretty good too, especially paired with this pumpkin. So I would definitely say that this is a winner and something I would make again. Yeah, really good. And for 3 points, definitely not bad at all. But anyway, Thank you to the viewer that suggested this. It was fun making this. It's been a while since I've done a pumpkin roll actually, and it was fun to do a lightened up pumpkin roll. But as always, be sure to check down in the description box for the ingredients, instructions, WW recipe builder link, points, calories, macros, and additional nutritional info. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.